goes up.
You would think.
One would think. One would think.
One would think, but I don't
One
know.
would venture a guess.
I don't know if it's supposed to be yogurt or poop.
Yeah, I can see the golf clubs in the corner there. That's cool.
Again, have you seen our show before? you've watched us before, right? Yes.
I'm just so enthralled with you, man. That there you go.
So how's everything going?
I had 3 meetings today, and I'm very tired and brain dead.
I had 3 meetings too, back to back to back too, all downtown.
Mine was 8:30 in Scottsdale, then a 12 o'clock in Surprise, and then the final 4 o'clock in Peoria. So there's just enough time in between to do absolutely freaking nothing.
Drive.
But drive, And I wasn't
fun.
expecting my first meeting to last as long as it did. So I had to drive all the way back to the house to get what I needed so I could hit the surprise meeting. And I made it 5 minutes early.
Nice.
Yay. Yeah, yay. But
Good meetings?
All good meetings. All went well. It's kind of one of those things where, the meeting goes great, but as soon as it's done, and they kind of leave the room, your face just goes, next meeting. Then you're at the, went to the 4 o'clock. Hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's all right. Oh yeah, we can do this. We can do this. Meeting's over.
Well, I had three really great meetings today. Actually, 3 interviews.
Good.
So I've started the rounds of interviews now that we're back from vacation, which I'm sure we'll talk about today. But back from vacation, so finally got to sit down with these guys. I can't really remember a time in my career over the past 2 decades plus that I've been hiring people that I've ever scheduled multiple interviews in a day.
Okay.
And every single one of the interviews, I want to hire.
Whoa.
I mean,
Surprise.
And they want the job. I mean, it was like we were absolutely on the same page. And, you and I talked about the job description and how this time I went a lot more detailed. I shared a lot more information. And really it was, even from some advice that you even gave me, was just hit them. Just say it.
Yeah,
just get it out. Don't try to, dance at all around any of the points. And whether that's perceived as negative in my mind or not is irrelevant. Just get to the point. And that seemed to weed out the majority. We got, I was looking at the numbers today. I got 78 resumes for this one post that I put out there. And I only posted it one time. I didn't post it every day. It was one post and got 78. From the 78, I did, let's see, I think it was 10 phone interviews.
Oh, I was going to say, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I did the phone screening first.
Do you really realize what you have applied for?
Are you sure? Well, actually, that's the screening email.
Oh, that's
so it's
right.
like, okay,
just
a reminder, here are some points that are sometimes missed in the job description.
Was the 78 the amount that you actually got in, or was that the 78 whittled down from the emails?
No, I got 78 total resumes. Okay. And not even all of those resumes got a response. So some of them just weren't going to be a good fit. I could tell from their experience. It was a sales role. I got some that, they were in a whole other state. It's like, no, you kind of got to be here. So there were some of those obvious ones that just, they're just running through applying for every single job, and it's kind of obvious. But so 78 total. Did the phone screenings, and then so this is the first 3 face-to-face interviews were today.
From the phone screen. Gotcha.
I've got 2 face-to-face tomorrow, and then 1 maybe toward the end of the week. So so far, I'm just floored. I'm like, wow. I talked to these 3 today. Man, just uber talented. It was.
That's
it
awesome.
was quite a relief, to be perfect. I mean, it's
it's probably a big load off your shoulders too. Just thinking, oh my God, what am I going to get? is this even going to help me out?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there you go. Congrats.
So these guys, they came in. We did the phone interview. Goes right at about 45 minutes. The phone screening I do about 45 minutes, ask them a ton of questions, tell them a lot about the job. That phone screening, I do more talking than they do. This face-to-face interview goes about an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
And it's basically them talking the entire time. I'm literally just sitting there asking question after question after question. And these guys, home run after home run after home run. I have a little candidate scorecard that I always keep for baseline purposes, just so I kind of grade responses based on, kind of listening to it and all this kind of stuff. And it was perfect scores. Across the board, it's like, wow, these guys are just uber talented. So that's very exciting. That really put me in a very, very good mood today. So,
well, especially coming back after a vacation too. Just like, oh God, what am I going to get into?
But I think there's something there. And I told Candace this. I think that we're going to have to take vacations more often, because when I come back from vacation, things like this happen. So I think it's obvious that it was because of the vacation. I think that is a
scientific validation of vacations.
It absolutely works for me. I think so.
But, and the only way to test the hypothesis is to continue to test said hypothesis. And
you have to test that multiple times. You can't even.
No.
One or two doesn't cut it.
No.
You have
what good scientists would we be if we only did one one try? Just like, I'm not sure if this is good.
Exactly.
I need to keep tasting it.
Let's test this hypothesis. Scotch is
good.
That's funny.
This is a good Scotch.
Stuff. Yes, it is.
It's not bad.
So,
or is it whiskey?
No, this is Scotch. It's Chivas.
Okay.
Yeah. 12 year. So this week, man, going to be a crazy, crazy week. So tomorrow morning, first thing, I take my oldest daughter to her driver's license test.
Oh.
So she is going to do the road test. Yes, that. So I'm going to take her to that test. Nothing I have to do. I just have to show up. But so we'll see how that goes. We'll find out tomorrow if she has practiced well over the past 6 months.
Yes. Does she have to do? She's going to do a road test, but she also has to do the parking, the three-point turn.
Yeah. So God, we actually, it's
funny.
It's so funny. We went to Starbucks the other night. Every once in a while we go to Starbucks, and I'm like, you know what, Kylie, come with me. So Candace and Ashlyn went into Starbucks. Kylie and I went over into, I don't know, it's like Michael's or something like that. Whatever. It was an empty parking lot. So it was at night. They were closed. I'm not saying Michael's is never busy, but so we're out in the parking lot, and I get out, and of course I don't have any cones. I don't have cones, but I had napkins in my glove compartment. So I go out and I crumble up the napkins and I lay them out in the formation of how the 3-point turn is going to be, the 3 spaces or whatever. So we just sat there and practiced 3-point turns, and it was kind of funny. I don't know. She did good. She did fine. I think she's going to be all right. We'll see under real world circuit. And I think I made it smaller. I think I made the spots smaller than they're actually going to be. Because I know the spots are going to be a little bit larger than a normal parking spot, but I was pretty close to the size of a parking spot. Oh, is it about the same size?
I will tell you, when Kyle did the 3-point, he was like, it's a 3-point turn. I can do that all day long.
Sure.
Where they put the cones, because they put the cones on the corners, you have to have a really good turning car.
See, that's going to be the frustrating part, because we have an SUV. I mean, both of our vehicles are SUVs. We don't have a car. We have SUVs. Kyle used our minivan. Oh, did
the
he?
First time.
Yeah. And it didn't happen.
And it didn't happen just because the minivan couldn't make, the tight turn. Next time he used my car, which was smaller, which was fine. And if that didn't work, my dad, Kyle's granddad, has one of those smart cars.
Nice.
Like that you can pick up. Yeah.
With the roof.
So we were just use that and say, hey, how's this?
Yeah.
Arizona State Board.
I'm not very confident about that then in that case.
It all depends on who sets up the cones, because you can't move the cones. Do not touch the cones. Just saying.
So don't do like a Gregory House type deal.
Yeah,
just walk by and knock one over.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? That was over there already.
Who is that?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I don't know. They might even be alarmed. They might go boop, 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 boop.
Exactly. It's like rigged underneath it like a mine or something. So anyway, first thing tomorrow morning, taking her to that awesome. Early morning. Hopefully that will be awesome. We'll see. And then right after that, I'm back-to-back interviews again. My first interview is, I want to say it's 10 or 10:30-ish. And, like, the driver test is here in Surprise at 8. I've got to be downtown at 10, so that's going to be fun.
That'll be interesting, yeah.
So hopefully I can catch a plane to downtown. But so I've got my first interview, 10:30, whatever that is, and then the next one right after lunch, 12:30. So that'll go until about 2, and then I'm leaving on a jet plane tomorrow going up to Utah.
Really?
So PBS, the TV station, right? So I've been talking to them for...
Public Broadcasting System.
Exactly. So I've been talking to them for... Well, actually, I've been talking to the production company, not PBS directly. But anyway, so maybe 2 months or whatever, and never really thought too much about it. But these guys were doing some research and found me online and found my story about being in the military and my brother, and... You know, we did the surprise come home from Iraq deal with the girls, and the New York Times was there, and they did a piece on it, and yada, yada, yada. So they found all of this stuff, and they reached out to me and said, look, we're doing this documentary on PBS, and we'd like to, interview you to see if maybe you would be a good fit for the show. So about a month ago, I did that phone interview with them or whatever, and we just kind of talked about my experience in the military. And then a few weeks ago, they contacted me and said, we'd like to fly you to Salt Lake City and do the interview. And so they're flying me up there, putting me up for a couple days, and so I'm going to be in a PBS documentary about my experience in the military.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it.
Why not?
I'm excited to do it for them. I think they're I like the angle that these guys are taking for this documentary. I mean, there's a lot that could go in a lot of different directions, and that's one of the things that I kind of stressed with them is I need to have a very, very clear understanding of what your direction for this thing is, because I'm not making any political statements on this thing. So you better, let me know what you're doing.
Right.
And it really is more just an unbiased kind of let the veteran talk about their experience. And they were open. They said, look, there's some veterans that are going to complain that did not have a good experience. Some, like myself, had a great experience and have mostly great things to say about the military. So it's going to be both sides. So I think it's a good look.
That's going to be good.
Well, I think it's a realistic look. I mean, there's a lot of service members in every branch. Some have good experiences, some have bad. I mean, it's just like anything else in life. So I'm excited to see how this goes.
Just like going to Chick-fil-A.
Well, yeah,
you might have a good experience, you might have a bad one.
Exactly, right.
I don't get half my order.
You may get nuggets, you may get a spoon.
Exactly.
Who knows, right? But yeah, so going up there for a couple days. I'll fly back Wednesday night. Actually, one day. Excuse me. I'm flying up Tuesday. I'll fly back Wednesday night. So be a quick turnaround there, and then come back on Thursday for another interview, and then Friday, hopefully, we'll be making the final decision and doing some hiring phone calls to see how many I bring in. So it's been an eventful week. Just got back from vacation and hit the ground running, man. I tell you,
welcome home.
We weren't waiting around. We just decided, hey, 100 miles an hour, which is actually good. I mean, that's exactly what I wanted vacation to be. I wanted to be able to come back completely refreshed and just having that fire again, behind me, and that excitement. And this week has certainly done that for me. So anyway,
awesome.
So that's cool. Yeah. So we're doing that. What about you? What do you got going this week?
I got nothing. I have nothing. My life sucks. No, just kidding.
Wow.
No. Well, last weekend, we had the not just this last weekend, but weekend before. Jenna had her archery tournament.
That's right. How did that go?
Number 1, baby. Number 1 in points. Number 2 in the shoot-off.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And she just started.
She started about probably about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago.
So she's still new.
Yeah, she was doing compound first, and then this year she went to recurve. And it's actually, well, compound's the one with the pulleys and the cams.
Oh, okay.
And all that. And recurve is kind of your standard straight Game of Thrones type of.
Sweet.
Just pull it back, shoot. It's actually bare bow, so she doesn't have a sight or any of the weights or any of that type of stuff. So,
wow.
Yeah. So we're trying to get her, she does horseback riding lessons too, so I'm trying to combine both. So she could be riding on a horse.
Robin Hoodette.
Well, no, we're talking like Madeira from Disney movie or something,
Nice.
and all that. But That's going to be a while before that happens.
You got to get Mom on board with that one.
Well, and I'm going to be behind a safe bunker somewhere, before,
That's so funny.
But, yeah, she did really, really good. And the team was actually thrown for a little loop because for their age group, we've been practicing them at 20 meters. Mm-hmm. But when we got to this tournament, for whatever reason, they were like, oh, no, it's not 20 meters, it's 30 meters.
Oh.
So an extra 10 meters is, an extra, 35 feet.
Yeah.
So, that's a totally different feel. That's a totally different, hey, where do I aim? How do I, do this?
Sure.
Especially for, once again, not as strong archers. Mm-hmm. 12-year-olds are as strong
kids,
as 12,
right,
12,
sure.
12-year-olds are. So, they're kind of aiming, up above the target and trying to say, hey, where do I consistently aim to get in there? How do I hone this in? So
interesting.
But they did really well. Our girls swept, all first, second, and third. Our boys got second and third.
Wow.
And I probably shouldn't be using names on this, but anyway, our
we'll call him Bob.
Our youngest kid, I think he's 9 years old, came in third in
Wow.
his age group. So that was pretty cool.
That
and
is
I think there
cool.
were like 200 some odd archers there and all. So
Jeez,
and once again, that's ranging of ages and all in there. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty.
That
cool.
is neat. Very cool.
And it's nice to give them something. Once again, if they can find something they like and find something that they're good at, and they don't have to win every time, but once again, they're good at. It's fun and all that for them.
Yeah.
Also took Jenna over to Valley Golf and started teaching her how to swing a club.
Good grief, man.
Possibly correctly.
You are you're setting yourself up for a workload, aren't you?
No,
you got horseback, archery, and now you're getting her into golf.
I am thinking retirement.
Really?
I'm hoping for the golf aspect because if she wins one or two of those, Papa's going to get a new house. So I should be good. But that's all I'm looking for.
That's hilarious.
Son wants to be a firefighter. What's that going to get me? Come on.
It's just worry and stress, right?
Exactly.
Just worry and stress.
Although he does only work 3 days a week, so no.
That's funny. But pretty similar to now, right? That's pretty.
Exactly.
But
work-wise, everything's been kind of running smoothly. Mm-hmm. This morning, one of my meetings was signing off on a surgery center and all, which is going to bring in a nice little proposal, a nice little project there.
Cool.
So it's a dentist and his wife, both are dentists. Actually, both are surgeons. They're both, from what I understand, both dental, oral maxillofacial.
Yeah. That's exactly
and
what I was
also
thinking.
they do some of the. Oh, what is that?
I have no idea.
Just regular kind of cosmetic surgery.
Oh, okay.
Type of thing as well. So this is going to be a nice project. It'll be a fun project.
So is it like surgery rooms?
So we're actually like our general dentist has general dentist exam rooms. They might do some things in there. Might have one room where they have an anesthesiologist or something that comes in and does pulls wisdom teeth or something
right.
Of that. But this is it's going to be a full Class C surgical center. So get to kind of spread my wings a little bit on that and cut my teeth and read a wonderfully boring code and try to stay awake through it.
That's fun, right?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that face! It's like
yeah. We're going to look at section 21-122.3.2.3.4a.
That's where my eyes
exception
start crossing.
B. And it's just like, well, that's the funny thing about some of the codes, especially the NFPA codes, is they go that deep. And when you're looking in the in the index or something, hey, I want to I just want to know, hey, what height do I have to have the disconnects at? Well, that's in this one, 3.2. I got to write that down.
Oh
3.2 point. No, that's 3.2.3.3. No, that's not 3.3.2.2. Dang it. So
that's funny.
Yeah. Once again, it's time to get the bifocals, unfortunately, so I can read all the fine print.
Nice. Where's this going to be at?
It's going to be down in Scottsdale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right next to Dr. Rick's.
Oh, yeah.
Right
Ironically, the other day, this is a sidebar for you and me, but I actually drove by his spot the other day, just completely randomly. Was out in that side of town, which I'm never on that, especially not that far out, but drove right by it. I was like,
hey, I know that.
I know that spot, because I didn't go to the shoot.
Oh, okay.
Because we shot out there, and I didn't go to that shoot, so I didn't even know that's where it was.
Pictures turned out wonderful, as always.
Good. But, so cool. So we're both busy. We got a lot going on. I think probably for me, a lot of content that I'm going to be creating over the coming definitely weeks, and a lot of where I start cracking your brain open and start picking
ain't much left, bro.
at the layers of intelligence that you have in there.
Hold on a second. Vacation. Just kidding.
But we'll be about the whole hiring deal, because that's kind of what I'm right in the middle of right now. And
well, it'll be interesting for me because that's one of the things of that I'm having a problem with too. Do I go to the service? Do I hire?
Right. Right.
And also,
well, I mean, it's always exciting. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, you talk to any entrepreneur, any sole proprietor who's ever hired employees and managed employees and had a staff. There obviously enters in new challenges, new responsibilities.
Oh, exactly. And stuff that you never thought of before.
Exactly, right. It's just layer upon layer upon layer. So one thing that I think I am doing a little bit different this time than I did the first time around, specifically with the agency. I mean, I've hired in many different roles before, but specifically with the ad agency. The first time around, I was not as picky, right? I did the kind of like what the Army does, and it's the mirror test. As long as when you breathe, fog shows up on the mirror. Hey, you'll make it.
Come on in.
Exactly.
Let's see what we can do.
And that's a little bit facetious, because I did have a lot of talented employees that work for me, but I did also bring in a lot of people that I probably should have never hired as either. Those that stayed with me and were with me for a few years, they were very talented individuals. I had some very talented account executives at certain stages and certain points throughout the time of my business being open, but I also had not so good ones at times as well, so.
Well, and that's also kind of one of those nice little benefits, which is one of the whole reasons why I know why you're doing this, is you've done it before.
Right.
Hey, I can fix what I did before. I know what I did before. Hey, I'm going to try something maybe not 100% new,
right,
but I'm going to try a few things. Let's see what works in here.
Yeah.
And that's the joy of joy. I mean, of just having some experience in there, and this is why I'm really glad to be part of this type of talk as well. Is that hey, I learned from my experience. Hey, here's what we can help you guys with.
Right. Well, I mean, even in today's interviews, again, I was talking to very seasoned professionals. I mean, these guys, first time around, a lot of the applicants that I got. With the last agency were like fresh out of college. I had a very, very young audience come in as account executives. And one thing that I'm doing a little bit different now is I'm looking for account executives that are a little more seasoned, who have some experience, who have not necessarily just marketing experience, but some good new business development experience, and has a professional network. They've had to do this before. They understand how this all operates. Where the younger professionals, specifically those like coming straight out of college, are going to be really, really good on the production side. They're going to be very good in digital because they're being trained very well in college on digital stuff. So they're going to have that kind of that edge, I guess, from the standpoint of production. But this time around, the individuals that I spoke to, and specifically one individual today, very seasoned, very intelligent, incredible background, just one that was just an absolute delight to talk to. I just love talking to this guy because just experience and knowledge and expertise in this kind of stuff. So, but that's one of the things that he mentioned to me as we were sitting there talking. In fact, all of them mentioned, I gave them all an info sheet. So I did a printout with, what their benefits, their salary, their allowances, expectations, examples of how things can go down. So I just gave them pieces of information so that they could take that home and talk to their significant other if they needed to, or whoever it is that they need to talk to kind of work through whether or not this is a good fit for them.
Ideas off of.
Sure. And for them to consider. And so, but that's one of the things that each of them said was, it's like you anticipated all my questions. Like, you've answered all my questions for me. Because I kept saying, now, do you have any questions? And they're like, no, you answered them all. It's like, it's because I probably answered them a few times before. And
right.
and I'm finding that tenure matters. I mean, getting that experience. Like, if you're just opening. Like, when I started my agency the first time around, I didn't have a freaking clue what I was doing. I didn't come from the agency world.
Right.
Again, I came from the practitioner side. I was, on the operations side of it. I didn't come from the agency side, so I didn't know what an agency did. I had no clue. It took me over a decade in the industry now, so I've learned all of these little ins and outs. And to the point you were making earlier about, coming at this now with some experience and with some tenure under my belt, you really start seeing things take shape very differently than I did the first time around. And so I think that comes back to that idea of patience and that idea of, look, it's not going to be easy when you first get started if you haven't gotten experience in this particular thing that you're doing. Like, for instance, when you start hiring people for your architecture firm, which you will do eventually because you're going to start getting so big, because so many people from so much of our audience is going to start... I'm sorry. I was taking that somewhere.
That was a nice try. Nice try.
It was fading off so quick. I'm like, I forget about it. It's not even going to work. But
do we have commercials in this where we can fade to commercial? No, darn it.
I should have cut the commercial. But yeah. So I think, like, even when you start hiring your people, the first time, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make bad hires. You're going to do all this. Yeah. But then again, it's over that time, having that patience and not giving up because of the trials and tribulations, and we always talk about eating shit, and it's through that stage of just constantly eating the pain in the butt and doing all the crap. If you stick through all that and have your patience and get to the other side of it, it is very, very different today. I mean, it's a lot smoother.
And but I also like the idea of we kind of talk about, hey, when you first start, you're going to be eating shit. Guess what? There's phases through your whole business where you are going to be eating shit. You're going to be having problems. You're going to try something new. Hey, it didn't work. You're going to try something new. Hey, great, it did work. Right. Now I'm going to move on from here. Crap, now I ruined just what I just worked.
Sure.
And all that. So I mean, it's not a. How can I say it? It's never like, okay, now I'm done eating shit.
Right.
No.
You're
going to continue to do it.
Just be in different places and ways.
But once you get through it the first time, you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I can do this again.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Type of thing. But
Well, what was kind of funny in my conversations today, and I think this is probably, if I have any kind of like overarching theme for tonight, it would be this kind of thought. And I'm going to expound on this later because it really just occurred to me today how relevant this was to applicants. I really didn't even think about it being relevant to them. It was really just really relevant to myself, but I just happened to bring it up. So we were talking through account executives make commission plus allowances plus bonuses, and then they get this whole commission package, whatever. But part of it is commissions. And I pay a much higher commission rate than what other agencies pay account executives. And I just can. And, every one of them would ask me, how is it that you can pay a higher commission? I said, well, quite frankly, I'm not in debt up to my eyeballs like most agencies are, right?
Right.
And so because I made the conscious decision this time around that I wasn't going to take on any debt. I have a credit card, but it's in a drawer. I don't use it for this business at all. I haven't used it one time for this business. I'm literally not taking any debt. Everything that I'm done has come out of my pocket or from the revenues that I've already made. It's going right back into the company. So, and I was literally just explaining that as in that's the reason why I can pay higher commission. Wasn't thinking anything deeper about it other than, well, I can pay higher commission because I'm not having to pay an investor. I'm not having to pay, any kind of debt or anything. And so the response that I got was, well, that's actually really encouraging because they know and they can kind of rest a little bit more assured that I can weather storms better than other companies. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm doing it, but that's actually incredibly relevant for an employee. Because obviously they don't want to join a company that's going to fold at the first
or something,
economic challenge, right? Where if I don't have any debt, I mean, we're cash. I mean, so I looked at it, and I was kind of explaining it to these guys. I said how I kind of look at this is the same concept of, where we're going and putting our focus more small to medium sized businesses and kind of staying in that range. Not that I always the phrase I always use, if Nike calls, I'm certainly going to answer the phone. But but really our focus, and I think our bread and butter, is going to be in that small to medium sized market. When you look at most agencies, they'll take a business and they'll do $1 million in billables for the year on one client, and they'll hire 10 employees for that one client to manage that one deal, and that's pretty standard. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll do 3 clients at $35,000 a month each, right? Which will come out over the year. I don't know my math or whatever, but say I have 3 clients that equal around $1 million. That's not 33,000. That would be, is it closer to 30,000 actually, or whatever it is? You're a math guy, right? What is it? 30? 33, 35?
26.738. But anyway, no, just kidding.
Is it really?
No.
Okay. No. I was like, dude, that's so cool. I'm so glad you said that. Whatever it is, 25 to 30,000 a month will equal where 333,000 a year, right? So I have 3 clients that are 333,000 a year. They equal $1 million. Well, if I lose one client, I can pretty much keep all 10 employees. I don't lose them all. I'm just losing that third of the business for those 3 clients. If the other agency loses one client, all 10 people are fired, and all revenue is gone, right? So by just focusing on large business, you hurt yourself. Well, that's the same concept of debt. Is if I lose pieces of revenue and I have all these expenses that I'm obligated to because of debt, it is what it is. I mean, I don't have a choice. I'm having to lay people off. Whereas if I don't have that debt, and we lose an account, which we will obviously do because that's what happens in business, then I can actually float that longer than what most businesses can. And I didn't really think about the significance of that from the perspective of an employee. I only looked at it really from my perspective because it's a massive advantage for me.
Exactly.
I see tons of value as the business owner, and just the stewardship of the money on my end. I see tons of value. But I didn't really think about it from the standpoint of the employee. And that's one of these things that these guys made me think about today.
Well, and I think it's a lot of things. Hey, first coming into a project, I still have my 30 days, 90 days probation. I still have all of this. What's going to happen if we do lose a project?
Right.
Do I have that foundational base, where that, thing, sorry, getting a little bit of a backup here on the scotch there. But I mean, it's almost that security of saying, okay, you're not carrying a lot of debt.
Exactly.
So that I know, your debt is going to be more important paying than my salary.
Right.
I know that you're not going to come and say, hey, I need you to cut your salary in half, in order for us just to make it.
Right.
Type of thing.
Because I wouldn't have a choice.
Right.
If I owe an investor,
it's going to be A, B, or C.
Exactly.
And, dude, I'm sorry, but, you might be a great employee.
That's right.
But I cannot keep you because I need to pay these things off.
Yeah.
But then it's a catch-22 type of thing. Well, without my employee, I can't make more money.
That's right.
And do more projects. I mean, it's a big catch.
Yeah. So then the option then becomes one of a few things, right? One, you end up firing the employee, which most agencies do. Usually when an account is lost, there's a house cleaning that takes place with personnel, and that just is what it is. And
I went through a few of those when I worked with a big firm in New Orleans.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's a shame. It is what it is. But I mean, seriously. I mean, but at the end of the day, and it's unnecessary. That's, I think, the most frustrating part for me. I guess I could say, but regardless, so that the account's lost and they'll clean house. That's option A, or option B would be borrow more money and go further in debt to be able to continue floating the company. So I think after talking with these guys today, I saw the value for myself, and I've kind of held the opinion that I'm not really going to pass judgment on anybody. If somebody wants to go into debt to open their business, have at it. It's your choice. I think it's a dumb decision, but fine, go for it. I'm not going to judge. I still don't think I'm going to judge. I'm just not a judgmental type person, but I think I am really going to kind of start a push to encourage people to stop taking debt for their business and really instead of focusing on rounds of fundraising and coming up with your next round of financing and your next round of financing and celebrating getting certain amounts of investments. I mean, you've got companies that celebrate their rounds of financing, that they got, $10 million in this round of financing. Well, good for you, you moron. Now you're stuck for $10 million.
Right.
And you got to pay that off one day. I mean, you're not getting that. So I think I'm going to get on a little bit of a stint here over the next little bit and really start talking more about and talking with other. I want to start getting some business owners in who have made it and can show success and how success looks when it's a debt-free business, because the success from a debt-free business looks a whole lot more sexy than with debt. I mean, and I think that's a message that's getting missed, especially with new entrepreneurs today. I think new entrepreneurs coming in think they have to get financed. They have to find an angel investor. They have to find investments. I considered it. I looked at the options of getting an investor when I came in. I'm very glad that I chose not to go that route. And as I dig deeper and deeper into my reasons on why I haven't, I found more reasons why I shouldn't do it. And it's like, wow, this needs to start getting talked about. I don't think it's talked about enough, personally.
Well, I mean, once again, we're kind of in an economy of debt. I mean, we see it with our, not to get political, we see it with our government. We see that it's an easy way to get started, but it's a long road back.
Right.
Type of thing. So.
And I think, at least from where I'm from, I being from Southeast Tennessee, the Chattanooga area, generally when we would talk about staying out of debt and the negatives of debt, it would always end up going into a religious conversation, right? Because the Christian faith looks very negatively upon debt.
Oh, well, it's
the Bible,
the idea of stewardship.
Exactly.
What you have is not yours, etc.
Right.
Yes.
And I think whether you believe in the Bible or you believe in Christianity or not, the lessons of debt that are taught by the Christian
concepts
faith,
of it is a good concept.
I agree.
Right.
I think the Christian faith has a really, really good stance on debt. I think it's a wise stance. I think it makes a lot of sense. One of my favorite people to listen to is Dave Ramsey. Great guy out of Nashville, and he is like the debt-free guru or whatever. I mean, that's pretty much his
we went through his financial
deal.
peace class when we were first married.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
My wife and myself, not.
Yeah. No,
anyway,
not the two of us. But yeah, no. So as have we, and so there's so many advantages that come from being debt free that have nothing to do with religion, quite frankly. Again, I think it not that the lesson started there. I'm sure debt free started somewhere else, but regardless, that is a good lesson. But even take the religion out of it and just get into some common sense practices, especially from a business standpoint. And it really opens up so many different possibilities, so many different opportunities, so many freedoms.
I was going to say, and it lessens so many other stresses that are there.
Oh, man.
You're going to have enough starting out a business. If we can get one less out of there, that's huge.
Well, I mean, a prime example of that is I incorporated my company April 16th of 2018. It was a year ago, right? I just celebrated 1 year as an incorporated company, 2 Second Media. I'm just now really starting my push to start getting new business and really start working very hard. I say just now. Over the past few months, I've really just kind of started my push. Certainly now that I'm bringing in account executives and building up a sales team, that's certainly a huge step forward where I'm really lighting the fire now. There's no way I could have made it a year if I had debt. There's no way. I was able to take my time, really put together packages and scenarios for small businesses specifically, because you got to be very creative with that, right? Because the budgets are so much smaller. So you got to be really creative with that kind of stuff. Have to be very, very
creative and efficient. I mean,
efficiency efficiency is absolutely the key, especially and specifically efficiency in production. And so that takes a little bit of time. I mean, there's things you've got to. I've kind of had to break the habits of the agency world and how things are normally done by agencies, and I can't really do it that way in with the goal that I have and the focus that I have, specifically looking at small businesses. So I was able to take this past year because I didn't I didn't have every single month. Every dollar that came in went straight to my bottom line. I didn't have debt that I had to pay. I haven't had the overhead yet because I haven't had the revenue to justify the overhead. So I don't take out a loan to be able to pay for an office out of the gate.
Exactly.
Something you and I are talking about a lot, and being very smart about how we go about doing that, simply because, again, wanting to remain debt-free as a business. So I think there's so many different lessons that a lot of businesses that are out there who have for many years been debt-free businesses, I think there's a lot of lessons that can be learned. So I hope that I can connect with some of them over the coming weeks and be able to bring them in and sit down and just kind of pick their brains on what they've done through the years. Again, I've done it for a very short stint, so I mean, there's some lessons that I've got. There's some experience that I have, but I'm looking for others' experience on this as well. Give me some insights. What are some things I'm going to run into being a debt-free business? What are the hurdles I'm going to have that I don't see, right? Because I can see that. You can't just remodel your office at the drop of a hat, right? I mean, you can't just put it on the Amex. You got to think this through a little bit, right? So that's fun. It's exciting. I like the prospect that it presents, and I think it's probably something that many businesses would benefit from if they would start considering that and thinking that. Other than just speed to market, there's not very many advantages to taking on debt.
Oh, true.
Speed to scale, speed to market. That's about your advantages, right? Outside of that, I mean, it's like
there's a long road. If you're doing that, pros and cons list.
Right.
Hey, pros, yeah, I'm there. I'm moving forward. All of this stuff, but start listing that cons.
Yeah.
Hey, all of a sudden I have this much debt, which I now need 4 or 5 jobs to pay off.
That's right.
So my first 4 or 5 jobs, I'm still in the red. I'm still not paying myself. I'm still not, I need to make sure, hey, if I hired these 3 guys, I need to make sure, once again, it's not that full whatever money coming in every month that's going to pay off this debt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this a manageable type thing?
Well, I was working through 2 Second Media's budget and just kind of putting my budget document together and really working through that and really diving in pretty deep to that document, making sure I'm squared away as I was considering these hiring moves. I just wanted to make sure I was 100% squared away before I bring anybody in.
Oh, exactly. There's no reason.
Well,
better do that,
I mean, right? That probably wouldn't be very fair to them. So I did that. I did a really deep dive into that. And one thing that I have in my budget that I did not have with the last agency, that it's one of those unknown unknowns, right? You don't know that you didn't know that you should have had it. Is I never had a growth fund. I never had a fund set aside that was specifically designated to assist in me scaling my business, because when we bring a large client on, we have to scale relatively quickly to be able to take care of that larger client.
Right.
When I was running the business under the thumb of debt, I didn't have the extra cash on hand to be able to do that. My cash was allocated to debt repayment and overhead and payroll and cost of sales. Where now, as I'm looking at my budget, I'm looking at my sample P&As, my pro formas, and I'm like, why is my net income at the end of the month so much higher than it used to be? I'm like, where am I missing my number? And it's like, I'm like, what am I missing? Because these are the numbers I hit before. Do I have more money? And as I go, I don't have Amex on here this time. Right. I don't have the equity line that I had. I don't have that.
I don't
on
have
here.
that planned thing of,
exactly.
Hey, I have to pay X amount every month, to get out of here.
Yeah.
To get out of the debt.
Right. So it's been enlightening. It's been fun. It's made it even more exciting for me because I see so many possibilities. So I think over the coming weeks, that's going to be a lot of my conversations. I think it's going to be a lot of stuff that I talk about specifically.
I think it's going to be an interesting thing because, once you get to this level where you're creating that business and you're at that level where you're going to start bringing on employees, it's almost trying to think about, hey, when you were an employee, what did you value?
Yeah.
Because right now, I mean, we're looking at it at the prism, the cube, if you want to say,
sure,
of, hey, here's the owner's side.
Right.
hey,
Right.
remember when I was on this other side? What
Yep.
was I looking at?
Yep.
And that's a good point. That's a
Well,
really
and
good point.
I think that's again that year off from the agency world where I went back in house. I just every single day I find more and more value in that year. Immediately after that year, I was nothing but frustration, and I was so happy to get back into the agency side. Because I really belong on the agency. I mean, this is really where I'm happy. This is really where I need to be. But that year off really did open my perspective, and it really did help me see things at different angles, look at the cube from a different side.
I mean, that's a great thing. Even your failures are good teachers.
Absolutely.
I mean, I always said it, and I've always said it to my kids. I have learned more from my failures than I have my successes.
That is so true.
You know? Because now I know, oh, well, that's what happened. That's why that went wrong. This is why now I can fix that.
Right.
You know, sometimes when if you succeed and you did a great job, woohoo, I did a great job, yeah, look at me, woohoo, yeah. But you never really analyze your successes.
Right.
But you really get a chance to analyze your failures.
Easy for you to say. Well, you know what? I mean, and it is so true. And so I'm very excited about potential content in the coming weeks because, again, as I think I've mentioned it on here, but I certainly mentioned it in private with you, is the name, the Chris Weir Experience, and the whole idea that I had behind that is not just my experience that I've had in the past, but it's the experiences that I'm having today. Right. So the Chris Weir Experience is the experiences at all points in my career, including today.
Exactly.
So
past, present.
It is.
Hey, we're going to think about what's about the future.
It is.
This?
And I think because my business is now scaling, it's starting to scale up, and I'm starting to see the movement. The movement will create more movement. I'm really starting to feel that and see that. And I can sense that, you're pushing that rock up the hill, and it's going, and it's going, it's going, and I'm starting to feel the first little, flat area of the hill. I'm not to the top of the hill. I'm not even close to the top of the hill, but I'm at least to the first little flat area where I can breathe for a second, right?
Okay,
and
take a second. Okay, that's where I've been. Hey, here's where I still need to go.
Exactly.
All right, now let's go.
Exactly. And I feel like I'm coming to that spot. So and I think there's a lot of businesses there. I think there's a lot of business owners who get to that place and don't take a second and stop and really look back down the hill and see where you came from and all the things that you worked your way through and pushed through and look how far you've come. Don't start making dumb decisions now, right?
And also reflecting on what were my good decisions, what were my bad decisions, what was that? And this is when you take a vacation to look at all those things. Right there.
That's your camera.
That's the camera right there.
That's the
Why
computer.
am I looking over there?
Because that's where
I don't know.
You can see
I
yourself
apologize
over
for
there. You've been looking over there all night.
I have been looking over there all night.
I've been kind of wondering what you're looking at. I'm like, what is so
I'm sorry.
That's the computer, but that's your. Well, hold on. Let me put you back on.
Thank
you. Now you're back on. There you go.
I'm sorry. Camera. Computer. Camera. Thank you very much.
So as
These
we
things are
evaluate,
so small and just so amazing that they just disappear, man. That's awesome.
So as we evaluate our successes and failures on this show, one of the failures is looking at the computer instead of the camera. So now you've learned, moving forward, you'll look at the camera, right?
High five me. All right. Good job.
I don't know. Let's run with that.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Just beautiful, man. Beautiful.
I've been thinking.
Beautiful.
So anyway, yeah, I'm really excited not only for 2 Second Media and where the business is going and seeing movement finally, and it's been a long year of just a lot of planning, and it's God, I've had to deploy the patience like I've never had to deploy patience in my entire life, but being able to look back down the hill over the past year, oh man, I'm so glad I did it this way. I'm so glad I took my time, really thought through this stuff. I didn't try to push to market quicker. I really didn't try to push sales. I really just kind of took the business as it came in and developed our processes and really honed in on efficiencies on every level.
And I will tell you, I think that's one of the things too. If you take a look at it, if you don't have your, how can I say it, your prototypes in place, and you push for all these jobs, and then all of a sudden, hey, you have 4 or 5 jobs, but no prototype on how to get this done. You're trying to develop the prototype as you're developing your job.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that, hey, does this prototype morph and move with every job, with everything you learn?
Does.
Yes, it does. But setting it up is that thing of, hey, one at a time, take it kind of slow.
Yeah.
Yes, you're going to have to do some things for, that you might not think, hey, I really wanted to do. I mean, for all that to make the money and to make ends meet and all of that. Take a little side job or whatever. Take that little side hustle just to make these ends meet, but to make sure that, this process is really what it needs to be. And just taking it slow. Hey, it worked for that job. Hey, okay, now I'm going to tweak this. Next job is going to tweak this. Yep. But trying to take 4 or 5 on at one time and try to develop your prototype, it's not going to work.
Well, somebody told me once, and I kind of took this advice as I started 2 Second Media, was you can either be working in your business or on your business. And as a CEO, you really have to consider that. You're either in the trenches,
right.
You're either in the middle of it and you're having to produce and you're having to do your stuff, or you're working on your business. And so I really kind of took that to heart as I started this agency. And another thing that I think about as I go back to our very first episode, and we've referenced that a few times, the ducks in a row versus ducks in a circle. Instead of playing duck, duck, goose, get your ducks in a row. And there is a medium that has to exist, and you can approach that issue on both extremes on both sides. I mean, you can say, look, just get started, just get going, and it'll fall into place as you go along. Or the other opposite side of that is take years upon years of planning and take your time, and eventually, when everything feels perfect, you can get going. There's a medium, there's a balance that has to exist, and I think, despite, like specifically my wife has been really, when is this going to get going? When is I hear you got this? When is it really going to come to fruition? And it has really been an exercise of patience, not just for myself, I should say, but also for her as well, is really just letting this process not just sit there and happen when it happens, really pushing it, really working very hard and putting in the hours. And I've been working very, very hard on developing this stuff, but also not trying to jump too quick either.
Yeah, and there is a delicate balance. There's I want to say equilibrium there of, hey, you can't just wait for the next job. Okay, what's going to happen? Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. There has to be, once again, every action that you create creates more action. Every movement creates more movement. The more you move your prototype, the more you move this process, the quicker, hey, okay, a job's going to get in. I'm going to, implement this process. That worked. Oh, that one little piece didn't. Hey, great. I'm going to change that. I'm going to finish this job. Ooh, the next job comes in, implement it. It's going to get, honed into, a pretty nice thing. And every once in a while, you still have to look at your prototypes. You still have to look at your processes. But, the more and more you do these things, the more and more you're going to hone in on your process. And you're going to get to a point, kind of like with some of my prototypes, it's pretty well set for this certain thing. Yeah, okay, I'm starting to do some physical therapy type of stuff. I'm starting to do some other, doing a podiatrist, type of thing. So, okay, well, hey, how does my prototype work? Okay, well, I slimmed this stuff down and put this up. Hey, it works. Because, once you've done that process.
Right.
And this, I think it's the same for anything. Furniture building, I don't know why that came to mind or whatever. Your furniture is different in some areas, but you still know the processes of what you have to go through. Yeah.
So. Well, and even facing now, even outside of just the work itself and the processes, which I spent a lot of time doing with, and I've had business over the past year. It's not like I've just been sitting here, but I have been taking that little bit of not a lot, but a little bit of business that I had, and really working the processes and working the prototypes, as you call them. But also something else that I've had to think about. And when I made the decision, okay, I'm going to hire account executives to come in. Well, I got to train them.
Yeah, what's that? So
process? What's the training program look like? What's the compensation package? How does that fit within my budget? What's the paperwork that they're going to have to fill out? How am I going to file all that paperwork? What are the legal requirements of holding that paperwork? So then there's all these, what's the tax implications of that? What are the legal implications? There's all when do I have payday? How do I pay them? Is it direct deposit? Is it check? So there's all these different elements that come into play when you start doing all these different things. So I've had to, right now, I mean, that's something that you and I are going to look at tonight, by the way, in case you're wondering. We're going to look at.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yay.
yeah. You're not on camera. I don't want anybody to see that.
Oh, yay.
So I'm not going to let you see his face on this one, but he's truly excited. But no, it's the training program. What I'm going to do for these account executives as they come in to learn not just our company, but learn my expected processes. I have been doing this for 20 years, so I know a little bit about how things should go. So how do I
what's my way?
Dump that knowledge, right? How do I share that knowledge with them in a way that I don't take 6 weeks to do it? How can we do it in a couple of days, a few days? Well, it's 3 days, I think. Actually, no, it's 4 days of training. How do we do that in a training protocol? And okay, so now I need to create the training manual, and I need to create the employee manual and all the policies and procedures and all the elements that come with hiring just a single employee.
You're pushing me more and more to contract drafting here.
But hey, you still have to have processes in place and
because you still have to have the expectations.
That's right.
They know what they're getting into, and you know what you want.
Yep, that's right. So anyway, so over the coming weeks, we're going to have a lot of fun content. I'm very excited.
That's cool.
Not just for 2 Second Media, but I'm also excited for the Crisware experience. Really kind of got vacation out of the way. I got got really busy there with 2 Second for a second, for a couple seconds. So got real busy there, getting a lot of stuff. So I've really not had the opportunity to be able to produce as much content as I normally would for the Crisware experience. So I'm certainly going to try to start getting back in the habit of that a little bit. Bringing on personnel only helps me. It takes a little bit off of my load a little bit, especially with these account executives. So I'll be able to start producing a lot more. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what's coming in the very near future. And for both of us, I'm really excited about the stuff you got on that's just creeping up. And it literally, I get excited every time I think about it because it's about to explode in a big way, and I really believe that. But also for 2 Second Media too. So it's good stuff. I mean,
it's exciting.
I'm excited about the coming months. It really is. It really is. I mean, it's a very, very exciting time for our businesses. So that's it, man. That's all I got for tonight. Really, it was really just an update night. It's me trying to.
I think we had a lot for an update night, my friend.
Me trying to remember how to work this stuff. It feels like it's been so long. I don't know.
I don't know which button it is.
What button do I push? I mean, I know I only went, and we didn't talk about the cruise at all. But going on that cruise for a week, when you're on a cruise, I don't know. It feels like it's 2 weeks. It feels like it's 3 weeks. I mean, it just. When you come back, it's like, oh my gosh, is this what Earth looked like? I forgot.
I mean, it is a whole different world. When you get on that ocean, though, and you are like you're like so isolated, there's just this unplugged feeling.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
my gosh. I'll tell you, the thing that I did every single night, and it's just overwhelming peace and clarity. I would go up to the top deck to the all the way forward on the ship, and would just obviously this was the distance that we traveled was not that great on this particular cruise. I was actually really surprised. We actually went really slow. We stayed around 7 or 8 knots the whole time, which is, I think every cruise I've been on, we've been 12 to 16 knots on every. So 7 to 8 knots was kind of slow.
Right.
So it wasn't as fast as normal, but still you're getting some good wind coming in your face, and it's loud enough that you can't really hear anything else that's going on.
You have enough white noise.
Exactly. It's just kind of, it encompasses you, right? It surrounds you or whatever. And just standing there, I don't know. It just, it's very spiritual for me. It's very calming. It's just so much clarity. Things start making sense. Things that I've been struggling with as far as decisions are concerned or whatever. Very specifically, hiring account executives was I mean, pretty much every night was my big thought. Okay, how do I do this, that I bring these guys in and ensure they get success as long as they put the effort in? How can I make sure they have success?
Right.
And how much making sure I'm getting all my and just so many things just kind of clear up for me. I love that spot on the ship. It's just, I've always done that. Every ship that we've been on, I always go all the way to the top deck, all the way forward, and just stand there and just enjoy the wind flying in my face at night. And plus, you look out there and it's nothing. I mean, it truly is absolute nothingness.
It's just a blank slate.
It is.
You know?
God, I mean, I guess in a creative individual's mind, that's I think the best way to describe it is it's really a blank slate, and it's while it's black, it's kind of your whiteboard. You can just
it's getting rid of all the noise too.
It is.
My goodness. How can I say all the distracting noise? Let me put it that way, distracting noise.
All the the noise literally and the noise of stress.
Well, the figurative noise too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. The stresses, the confusions, the debates. It's just everything just clears up. We went to what was the island we went to? Catalina. I cannot remember the island. Went out to Catalina. First time I've ever been to Catalina. My oldest is now convinced we're moving there, so we're definitely, I guess, moving to Catalina now. Yeah, I guess. But it really awesome little spot, really cool little island. What's that city there that we went to? What
Aurora?
Is it Aurora?
I think it's Aurora.
I was talking to somebody today, and I'm like, is it Avondale? No, it's not Avondale. That's here. I could not. I know.
Although a wonderful city.
It is a great city.
Not quite
on an island off the coast of California, but Aurora, that sounds about right. So whatever that city was, I think there's a couple cities on the island. But we went to that one, and whatever the A one is, and they're just cute. I mean, just a little cute, cool little vacation spot.
Well, and it's kind of stepped on the hill.
Oh
and
yeah,
all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so everything overlooks the ocean. Yeah. And of course, my oldest wants to go into the medical profession, so she wants to work in a hospital. And there's a little itty bitty hospital there, and the school is like 4 trailers right across the street from the hospital.
Right.
It's funny. But so we enjoyed Catalina. Went down to also Ensenada there in Mexico. Yeah, we went. That'll be it. No desire to go back. I've heard the wine tour was good, but. Yeah, don't go downtown shopping. Wouldn't recommend that one too much. But so we're already talking about the next one, which we'll go to. Let's see, what
Cabo,
is the other?
Mazatlan.
Cabo and what is that other one?
Puerto Penasco.
Yes, and there's a third one. Is it a W? Well, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, so we're going to do another one down in that area. And we love cruises. I mean, that's just kind of something that we love to do. We just really enjoy going to all the different places, and there's free soft-serve ice cream. I mean, oh
my gosh, yeah, right, exactly. What more can you want?
Exactly. I mean, I don't know how it gets better.
You want to talk clarity?
Get yourself a swirl soft-serve ice cream on a cone. You know, and we made a deal with my youngest daughter and I. We made a deal that the first thing that we were going to do when we got on the cruise ship was go straight to the ice cream. That's exactly what we did. We walked on the boat, went straight to the soft serve. So we had gone on this class ship before, so we knew the ship. We knew exactly where everything was at, so it was kind of funny. But we had to go 10 times a day. It was hilarious. But had a great time. Came back completely refreshed, and we've alluded it, and we've kind of just touched on it and didn't even talk about it. But breaks and vacations, man.
There is something about it. I will tell you, you can't be going 100% all the time.
No, you can't.
You need to refuel. You need to refresh. And I am just about there.
Yeah. I mean, and that was me. I mean, I had gone almost a year. I mean, I'd almost made it a year without a vacation, and not very often have I ever gone a year without a vacation. And we were right there at it, almost a year with no vacation, and I was feeling it. There's a reason that, and one that I wish America would adopt is other countries, how they have mandatory vacation time, and it's like 4 to 6 weeks a year. I mean, there's like serious vacation time.
Yeah.
And here in the States, I don't know why we just feel like we got to work more. I don't understand that, and there's just so much me taking that week off, I have been more productive in the week since I've come back than I would have been in the 2 weeks total if I hadn't taken the vacation. There is value in that concept of refreshing, and stepping away from everything, unplugging, as you said earlier, and so that's what we did. So very happy about that. So
good job.
Yeah, very, very happy. That's all I got, man. I got nothing else. I'm totally out of.
I can't think of anything else.
I want the cigar.
You want the cigar?
It's been a couple weeks. I didn't, obviously Like
Yeah, I was
on the
going
ship
to
at
take the picture
no,
of
you were.
mine and all
Yeah.
that, but I couldn't.
Whatever.
I just didn't have good lighting like you have here.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad. Thanks as always, man.
Hey, thank you. Glad you
Good
made it
update
back.
show.
Glad you're happy and refreshed.
Yeah. No, I'm very much refreshed. So everybody watching, stay tuned because over the next coming weeks, going to have a lot of content that I put out about the things that I'm going through right now. So as always, hopefully I'm adding some value and we're getting at least some good information to you for you to consider and think about. Yep.
There you go.
All right.
All we can ask for.
Take it easy.
Peace out.
See you guys next week. Peace out.
Hey, why not? It's going to be my new call sign. Peace out.
Peace out.
Yo, bro.